Going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today I want to talk a little bit about some rankings that I saw, right? This is a Sunday stroll. We're kind of going over some of the things that we didn't hit on, some of the things that didn't really come up in a video earlier this week. Something that I missed earlier this week was talking about the OTAs. I believe I forgot to mention that Jaylon Jones came out of those practices looking like a stud and looks like a guy who could get into that starting lineup once again. Now, that's something that I've tried talking to people about, and some people agree. Some people have been in the comment section telling me I'm crazy for even mentioning Jaylon Jones, like he's not going to be starting because he was a seventh round pick and blah, blah, blah. Kenny Moore was undrafted. Right, Jaylon Jones played really well last year. If you look at the more detailed numbers and look at what he was able to do, right, amount of separation for a rookie, he was great in a lot of different metrics last year. So Jaylon Jones could very easily end up in the starting lineup. We could see Juju and Jalen as the starters, and then have Dallas coming in as the guy, and have those three more as a kind of rotation, right? I don't know if any one of these guys are going to be every down kind of guys. Are they going to be, somebody locking up the one every single week? I don't know if that's what we're going to do, right? One guy's going to be on one side of the field, one guy going to be on the other. We might have somebody that goes to either side. Like Juju, I feel like could go either side. He can play physical, so Juju might see a lot of playing time. But Jalen seemingly carving out a role here, at least in OTAs. We'll see if that continues once the pads come on, and the team is on the field in training camp. Does he keep up that level of play? Will the competition continue to be fierce enough that we'll continue talking about this as we go into the regular season? It'll be interesting to see what happens. But Jaylon Jones is making some noise early on in these offseason practices. Okay, but then moving on, want to talk about these rankings, some PFF rankings. And just as I started recording this, they put out another ranking for defensive tackles. We'll look at that one, but I want to start here with the offensive tackle duos and PFF's top 32. Now, of course, when we're talking about PFF, we have to preface the conversation with the fact that we don't think PFF is particularly great on this channel. I don't think PFS is that reliable in what they talk about all the time. So take that with a grain of salt. But they do have Braden Smith and Bernard Raymond as numbers 15 and 16 ranked offensive tackles overall. And as a duo, they sit here behind the Jets at fifth in the NFL. And of course, just with any other duo, this is kind of weighed up by the fact that, hey, this is when they're both healthy, right? When both of these guys are healthy and on the field, they're one of the better duos in the league. I think we can see that this year. Not too mad at that one, right? You have, Tristan Wirfs with the Bucks, and his duo. Then you have Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker are going to be up there, of course. Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses. Like a lot of really good tackles on this list. Obviously, Trent Williams is probably number one. His duo not on here. Probably a young guy, somebody without experience. With as good as Trent Williams is, if he's not on this list, then they must not know much or anything at all about his duo or his duo partner. Is just really bad. I don't know enough about the Niners to be able to tell you that, but I do know the Colts coming in at fifth here at offensive line. And then we'll skip ahead here to the defensive tackles, where you see interior defensive line duos. DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart come in as the number one duo in the NFL. And one of the reasons I don't particularly like, PFF. If you look at some of the other rankings on here, we have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne at 32 somehow, Leonard Williams up at 17, Byron Murphy at 25. They're putting Byron Murphy before he plays a snap above Deron Payne. Like Grady Jarrett's down. I know he has some injury history, but he's really good. Like, yeah, not thrilled with PFF overall. Grover Stewart at 31. Grover Stewart under Byron Murphy. Yeah, I just this is why we don't like PFF here around here. But I do agree with the fact that the best interior defensive line duo is the Colts. You have DeForest Buckner, you have Grover Stewart. They're great. So I think they got this one right. And that's not to take away from some of the other duos. Again, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, been one of the best interior defensive line duos for a long time. Like, really good duo right there. I do think Byron Murphy is going to be a good pro, but Leonard Williams being at 17, is that fair? I don't know. I haven't looked at all the defensive tackles in the league to really give it a ranking. I don't necessarily think that Leonard Williams is above David Onyemata when David Onyemata is healthy. I don't know if he's above Ed Oliver when Ed Oliver is playing his best football. So just a little error in PFF here, which kind of leads us to the last part of this conversation, which is linebackers and the rankings for linebackers. Now, I'm showing you guys this stuff. I need somebody to tell me, where is Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed? Where are the guys at? How are those not? And like, I just don't understand. With as good as both of those guys are, how are you not going to put them on this list? When you look at some of the linebacker duos, and again, not to go and throw shade at people, but like the Vikings duo is on here. Seahawks duo is up there. They have Jerome Baker, who's getting older, right? Is he up there? I don't know, with what we've seen from Zaire Franklin, especially, like, as good as Zaire Franklin is, how does he not weigh this list up? Like, where do they have EJ Speed to where they're not on this list? It's absolutely asinine that they're not up here. You just go look at the stats, go look at the tape, and watch the effect that both of them have on the game. Every single game as a tandem, one of the best in the league. And the fact that they didn't make the PFF top 32, right? They're ranking top 32, and they're not on this list. That tells me that EJ Speed probably not ranked in the top 32, which, again, absolutely crazy, right? Some of the names that are on here, like, and again, not trying to throw shade, but EJ Speed, definitely one of the top 32 linebackers in the NFL. I just don't think there's any question about that. It's crazy that they're not on this list. The disrespect continues. That's really the conversation that comes out of this, right? And again, PFF not crazy reliable, but it's just the constant disrespect, which is kind of what we're used to as indie sports fans, right? You think about the Colts, you think about the Pacers, right? You think about the different times in history for indie sports where everybody just counted us out. People didn't talk about us enough because we're the small market team. We're always gonna be the underdog. That's the way it is. Coming into this season, we're the underdog. People are sleeping on us. There are people starting to talk about, hey, the Colts are one of the teams that we're not talking about enough, right? Kay Adams had mentioned that, and had a little bit of a conversation about that. And I thought that what she was talking about was interesting. And I thought that you guys might enjoy hearing it. So I'm going to play this for you guys, and then we'll continue talking about it.
Is there a more slept on team than the Colts this year? I don't think so. I think they're more slept on. I mean, the Chargers are getting so much hype. You look at other teams that are unheralded. The Falcons, super hyped. It's got to be the Colts for me. It's not the Bears, certainly. So, couple injuries. They got it though. It doesn't sound like this shoulder thing with Anthony, which I guess would be a concern here. It hasn't held him back in OTAs. Has anybody heard that? I haven't.
All right, so right there, I couldn't agree more. I think people are sleeping on the Colts, right? We've talked about this plenty. Continue to talk about this. People just gonna keep sleeping. People gonna keep disrespecting us. They did it last year. We went 9-8. Okay, we went 9-8 with a whole bunch of injuries. Anthony Richardson wasn't there. Gardner Minshew was up and down and consistent. So coming into this season with Shane Steichen, his staff, the culture implementing itself for the second season, everybody getting integrated, right? Defense going into their third season in this system, offense going into their second season in their system. So a lot of continuity. This is basically the same team, but we're coming back healthy. If we have a lot of our main guys, obviously football's football, stuff's gonna happen. But if we can keep a lot of our main guys healthy this year, we can compete with anybody. So let them keep sleeping. Okay, let everybody keep sleeping on the Colts. Everybody thinks they're going to be able to walk in and beat us week in, week out. Texans fans think week one's going to be easy just because they won in week 18 last year. It's not going to be like that. I remember week 2 last year when Anthony Richardson was straight balling on the Texans in Houston. Okay, that matchup week 1 is going to be crazy. I cannot wait to see it. Can't wait for the season to start. We are less than 100 days away, not only from the first game of the season, but also from the Colts' first game of the season. Less than 100 days away. And we're just going to continue to get closer, man. We're going to keep putting content out here on this channel. So make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime any videos do come out. Of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another Sunday stroll. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.